Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'd like to talk about one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and the lessons that I've learned from watching it. And before we get started, please pardon my hair. I am trying to grow it out, but it's in that awkward stage where, I'm not quite looking like I'm growing it out, but I also kind of look like Dwight from The Office, so please don't make fun of me. Please be nice.
Identity theft is not a joke, Jim. Millions of families suffer every year.
Alright, so I just finished watching Avatar a few days ago, and I thought I would make a video about it because it's such a big part of my life that I wanted to share it with everyone else. So I wrote down some notes, but for the most part, this is just going to be straight from the dome because that's the way I work best. So, since its release in 2005, it's captured and transformed the lives of so many kids that are now entering adulthood and taking the lessons that they've learned from that show into the adulthood. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, are the lessons that I've learned from this show and why you should watch it if you haven't already. I'm making this more for people that haven't seen it or maybe have heard of it and know a little bit of what it's about but have never watched it, and make a case of why you should watch it. So just a little backstory. In this world, people can manipulate one of the four elements.
Water, earth, fire, air.
And it's really dependent upon your family genetics and where you grew up. However, there is one being that can manipulate all of the elements, and that person is called, you guessed it, the Avatar. So Avatar has a lot of themes running throughout its 3-season runtime, and I'm not going to go through all of them because we'd be here all day. And I also want to make this as short as possible. From the very first episode, this is where we meet Aang, the Avatar, and the last of the Airbenders. So we find him trapped in an iceberg, and when he's unfrozen, we find out that 100 years have passed since he disappeared. In the very first episode, we learn about loss, and he learns that the Fire Nation wiped out all of the other Airbenders.
Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
We are also introduced to Katara and Sokka, two siblings who have lost both of their parents because of this war that the Fire Nation started. And again, something that Aang doesn't even know about because he's been frozen for 100 years. And at first, Aang doesn't believe it because to him, it's only been 1 day since he got frozen. So he goes to the air temples and finds his old friends' skeletons alongside some Fire Nation soldiers as well. So Aang is a 12-year-old who is tasked with finding himself as well as saving the world that he hasn't even been alive in for the past 100 years. Now, imagine that today. Imagine being alive in 1926, where Model T cars were rare and people were still using horse and carriage, to now being awoken today, where everyone's on their smartphone, no one talks to each other, and we're all taking cars, and there's things such as Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, home networks. It'd be a lot to process. Now Aang has to put all of that behind him and figure out this brand new world and himself and save the world from the Fire Nation. Now we know why he's the last of the Airbenders, but you might ask why the Fire Nation even eliminated the air nomads to begin with. Now the answer to that question lies in the Eastern philosophy of reincarnation. The Avatar isn't just one singular person that just lives forever. It's essentially a spirit that lives inside one person for the duration of their life, and then once they die, it is reincarnated into the next element in the cycle that Katara says to us in the beginning. So the reason they started off is because they knew that the Avatar was an air nomad. And so they wiped them all out. And then, because water is the next in the cycle, they started rounding up the waterbenders, just so that the Avatar could not defeat them and ruin their plan of world domination. Now, you might say, that's a cool backstory and everything, but why Avatar? What makes this different from any other show that was on at Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon at that time? You know, I think back to other shows that were on at that point, like Fairly Odd Parents, SpongeBob, Danny Phantom, Ben 10, Codename Kids Next Door, Teen Titans. Like, those were all cool shows. They're kind of in the similar vein. Like, why is this one so special? The answer to that, to why I believe it's superior, is because of its philosophy and its world building. Now, don't get me wrong, all those shows are great, but they just don't have the immersive world that Avatar does. The only other world I'd want to visit is SpongeBob. And I mean, look at it. It's gorgeous. Who wouldn't want to go under the sea? But anyways, the world building in this show is second to none. At least in any kids or teen animes. Because you can tell that they took their time with creating this world. Like, let's just start with the Earth Kingdom. This one's the easiest to kind of point out. So, the Earth Kingdom, look at this map. This thing is huge. It's like pretty much the size of Asia, and it's all one country. And if you know anything about history, like Roman Empire, the Mongols, the Byzantines, anybody that got too big, it was nearly impossible to govern and keep rebellions from forming and all that kind of stuff. And that's what you see in the Earth Kingdom. You see, first of all, there's like many different rulers. You've got the Earth King that lives in the giant walled city of Ba Sing Se, the capital. You've got the king in Omashu, King Bumi. You've got other different mayors and kings of different principalities and all that kind of stuff in this kingdom. And then you've got, of course, the Dai Li, which, much like our country, are the secret rulers of the Earth Kingdom. They're the ones that make the laws that enforce it. They're the ones that bend the truth to the citizens. And the Earth King is just busy doing his own thing. He doesn't even know about the war with the Fire Nation that's been happening for the past 100 years because the Dai Li keeps it secret.
A secret war? That's crazy.
Completely.
And they brainwash any citizens or officials that try to talk to the Earth King about this matter.
There's no war in Ba Sing Se.
What are you talking about? Where do you think all the refugees come from? You can't hide it.
There is no war within the walls. Here we are safe. Here we are free.
So because the Earth Kingdom is so huge, it's prone to corruption, to crime, and all of these other things that you would normally think of that has all these different classes in its social structure. Now that in and of itself just shows you the amount of time and effort that they put into building this world. But that's not all. All elements have a certain personality trait and fighting style that goes along with them. And this tells a lot about the person, like how they behave in certain situations and their belief system. You know what? Everybody's so obsessed with Harry Potter, and they'll say things like, "Oh, I'm a Gryffindor. As a Slytherin, I really like this." Forget all about that, man. Take some of these quizzes that you can find online. Just search Avatar Element Personality Quiz, and take some of those and tell me what you get. That says more about your character than if you're a Hufflepuff or whatever. Take a few of those and let me know what you get in the comment section. Most of the time I get water, but also depending on the quiz I'll get air as well. And the cool thing about that is that my fiance has also taken these, and we're almost polar opposites. I get mostly water, she gets mostly fire. And if you think about them in like a circle, which is where they actually got the idea from, is that it goes according to the seasons. You know, water is winter, earth is spring, fire is summer, and then air is fall. And if you think about it like that, you can easily see why we're compatible. Because even though we're technically opposites, we share a quality of air in the middle. And I'll come back to this in a few minutes. But we share qualities of air, and the air people love to just have fun, and they're free-spirited. They like to just fly around everywhere. However, our ideas of fun can be very different. Whereas she wants to like go out and do stuff like, let's go bowling, let's go to the zoo, let's go here, let's go there. Like she sees a free day when we both have a day off or something, and it's like, hey, let's all do this. Let's fill it up with stuff. Meanwhile, me, with more of a home base of water, I'm content with staying at home. I'm content with just watching movies. Like, I'll go out and do stuff, but, I prefer to just keep it cool, go with the flow, and just, more or less just relax. But, and this is one of my points, is that I think that embracing your opposite element is so important. Like, I need to be more like fire and earth, because yeah, my head's in the clouds and up here, but I also sometimes lack discipline or the ability to actually drive and get what I want and like speak my mind a lot, because I'm more of like a passive, go with the flow kind of guy, and then I can get stepped on or all that kind of stuff. And that's what I'm learning from her. Whereas she is learning the water side, that she can just chill out sometimes. So it works out. She's my other half, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Okay, anyways, let's get back to actually describing each of the elements. So air, like I said, it's the element of freedom.
Air is the element of freedom. The air nomads detached themselves from worldly concerns and found peace and freedom. Also, they apparently had pretty good senses of humor.
The air nomads are very passive. They are modeled after the Tibetan monks, and they live in the air temples, which are up high on mountainous areas. And the air nomads are very peaceful, very meditative people that give up all of their worldly possessions to try to reach enlightenment. They prefer to avoid conflict as much as possible, but if they have to, they're more of a reactionary and more of a get away from this kind of person. And you can see this in Aang very easily in the way that he fights, especially at the beginning when he hasn't learned any other elements yet. He's still very much like, oh, let me just run away from this person. They try to get behind the person and then just try to knock him off balance and just run away. That's the air nomad way of fighting styles. Now, in the beginning, Aang's style and personality is more like slapstick comedy instead of actual martial arts, which is perfect because air nomads love to have fun and play pranks. I mean, just look at the episode when they go to the Southern Air Temple and they try playing the air ball. I forget what it's called. And then they just love to play pranks on each other. You can see that from when Aang has flashbacks to his friend Gyatso, and they like to play pranks on other people.
Your aim has improved greatly, my young pupil.
And the thing we all need to learn from Aang is that he's never afraid. When he's captured, now because people have never seen an air nomad before in the past 100 years, they don't know how to properly deal with him. He gets out of every situation that he's in because he trusts himself. He knows how to escape. He knows that he can rely on his abilities without even being a fully realized avatar, that he can get out of any situation. And he just learns as he goes. So now at the start of the show, we all know that he's already a master at airbending. You can see that by his arrow tattoos that every master airbender gets. But now he's got to learn all of the other elements So the next element he learns is the next one in the cycle, water. And he seems to master this in just a few days, surpassing even Katara, who's been trying to learn this her whole life.
A pretty basic move, but it still took me months to perfect. So don't be frustrated if you don't get it right away. That's almost right. If you keep practicing, I'm sure eventually.
Hey, I'm bending it already.
Wow, I can't believe you got that so quickly. It took me 2 months to learn that move.
And if you think back to the wheel I was talking about, the circle, I mean, water is right next to air. They're very similar. They're very much reactionary. They're very much that you have to manipulate something that's around you. And so he picks that up very easily, much to Katara's disappointment. So water is the element of change.
Water is the element of change. The people of the water tribe are capable of adapting to many things. They have a deep sense of community and love that holds them together through anything.
It's always flowing upstream from downstream. And that's the essential building blocks of waterbending, is that you don't fight against the current. You go along with it. You go with what your opponent is doing, and then you try to beat them with their own strength.
You put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
In terms of people with water personalities, they're very much go with the flow. They're easygoing. They tend not to like to rock the boat. And the water tribe is modeled after the Inuit and other tribes like Alaska and other similar Arctic locations. They're really the only exception to everything being based off of Asian culture. The water tribe is really the only exception. Otherwise, everyone else is built off of like the monks in Asia. There's the Indian gurus. There's Chinese, Japanese, Thai. There's all these different nations that are represented in different areas of the show, and this one is really the only exception. Just a little fun fact for you. Fire is the next element he attempts to learn. Now Aang learns these two relatively easily because if you think back to the wheel, if air is right here, you have water and fire right here. So he's easily able to create fire and manipulate water. He learns it from a firebender that wants to get back at the Fire Nation, and so he agrees to teach him. However, he has not learned how to control himself yet. He's still very much an air and a water kind of person. And so because of his fun, carefree personality, he doesn't think of how destructive fire can be, and he burns Katara. And he vows never to firebend again, until he pretty much has to later on in Season 3.
Fire is the element of power. The people of the Fire Nation have desire and will, and the energy and drive to achieve what they want.
People that embody the fire element are driven, competitive, maybe a little hot-headed, and the Fire Nation is modeled after Imperial China, where they had like the Grand Emperor and all that kind of stuff. It has rigid rules and leaders that are more concerned with status and power than the actual human beings that they govern or work with. And the people in the Fire Nation are scared to mess up and be actual human beings. You can see this perfectly represented by Princess Azula that we meet in Season 2.
What am I holding? A cherry pit, Princess. Correct. And what day is this? It is the day of your coronation. Yes, it is. So please, tell me why on the most important day of my life you've decided to leave a pit in my cherry? It wasn't a decision. It was just a small mistake. Small? Do you realize what could have happened if I hadn't sensed the pit in time? I suppose you could have choked? Yes. Then you understand the severity of your crime. I understand, Princess. Please, forgive me. Oh, very well. Since it is a special day, I will show mercy. You are banished. Leave this palace immediately.
She represents the extremities of the fire element. She has relentless drive to get what she wants, sacrificing anyone or anything along her way.
Yes, we've defeated you for all time. You will never rise from the ashes of your shame and humiliation.
With that being said, fire is destructive, but it is also life-giving. If you think about it like the sun, life on Earth could not exist without the sun. I mean, technically it could, because, there's like thermal vents under the ocean that life thrives in, but let's just pretend that that doesn't exist. Life on Earth would not exist without the sun.
It's like a little heartbeat.
Fire is life, not just destruction.
Fire is your internal drive. It's something that keeps you going. It's something that you need to have if you're going to get anywhere in this life. Because you can't just sit by and let your life happen. You have to get out there and accomplish what you want. Zuko is the one that is constantly obsessed with capturing Aang. He has that fire in him to capture him and restore his honor that his father stole from him. I'll get back to that more in a second because I'll introduce some of the characters. But Iroh is the masculine energy, the masculine warmth of fire that should be a good role model for every young man out there. Because you see, Uncle Iroh already had his arc. He was once Zuko in the past. He was called the Dragon of the West.
Did I ever tell you how I got the nickname, the Dragon of the West?
I'm not interested in a lengthy anecdote, Uncle.
It's more of a demonstration, really.
And he tried to take over the Earth Kingdom as well, but he saw the error of his ways when his son, Lu Ten, died in battle. We see his backstory in one of the greatest filler episodes of all time, Tales from Ba Sing Se.
Happy birthday, my son. If only I could have helped you. Leaves from the vine, falling so slow, like fragile, tiny shells drifting in the foam. Little soldier boy, come marching home. Brave soldier boy comes marching home.
I'm not crying, you're crying. Gets me every time. But Iroh is balanced, though. He has gone through that transformation. He has seen the dark side of fire, and now he produces the lighter side of fire, the warmth. And he sees himself in Zuko, and he tries to help him through his journey of self-discovery. But now is when we get to Aang's real transformation right here. Earth is the hardest for him to learn. Like I mentioned, it's his polar opposite. So it takes him the longest to learn.
Earth is the element of substance. The people of the Earth Kingdom are diverse and strong. They are persistent and enduring.
So we think back to Air and Aang's personality. He is very much about keeping the peace, not stepping on anybody's toes, and he tries to talk to everybody calmly and tries to get everybody to talk it out and just avoid conflict. But Earth is the opposite of that. And his whole philosophy changes once my favorite character, Toph, is introduced in Season 2. Now Toph, while being blind, sees the world for what it is and sees the opportunities that she has, while her parents, being completely normally sighted, only sees her limitations. And they constantly try to put her down and try to say, oh, Toph, you're not ready to do that. You can't do that. You're blind. You need help. Let somebody go with you. And despite all of this, she doesn't let anybody bring her down.
Poor Toph. She must be so scared.
You think you're so tough? Why don't you come up here so I can smack that grin off your face?
She's strong. She is stoic. She is rooted in who she is as a person. She never backs down from an argument or fight and always says what's on her mind and faces issues head on. And Aang really only faces things when he has to. He apologizes. He tries to control the situation by just keeping everybody calm. And that's the complete opposite philosophy of earthbending and stoicism. And this is where we get Aang's character arc starting to come into view. He has spent his whole life running from who he should be and who he is. The whole reason that the air nomads were wiped out in the first place was because Aang ran away because he was told that he's the Avatar much too young, when normally avatars are told that they're the Avatar at around 16 or so. But Aang was told at age 12, and he's not ready for that. And so he runs away, not knowing that that night or the next day, the Fire Nation attacked and wiped out all of his friends. So he goes through the entire series feeling guilty and shameful that he ran away, that he couldn't help. So Aang has spent the whole first season and a half-ish running away from his problems, being a true airbender. And Toph is the complete opposite, and that is why she is the most important character in Aang's journey to master the four elements. Toph tries everything to try to get him to stand up for himself. You know, rolling a boulder at him while he's blindfolded so he has to face it. And he, of course, in true airbender fashion, he just jumps out of the way. She steals his staff from him, try to get him to, you know, be something, just like stand up for himself and like take it back. But he doesn't. He just stands down and he just goes, okay, that's fine, I don't need it. And she tries calling him names, and that just, he goes, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I guess I could be like that. Like, he's just total passive.
You are sorry. If you're not tough enough to stop the rock, then you could at least give it the pleasure of smushing you instead of jumping out of the way like a jelly-boned wimp. Now, do you have what it takes to face that rock like an earthbender?
No, I don't think I do.
He only truly accepts earthbending when there is no other possibility but to stand his ground. So Sokka got trapped in this hole, and he's about to be attacked by a saber-toothed moose lion, which, speaking of quick side note, I just have to say, this is another part of the world that just draws me in. The different animal hybrids. I mean, look at this book. I even got this book just because I love the animal hybrids. The Beasts of the Four Nations. You know, you got like the obvious winged lemur that Aang has as a companion. His name is Momo. And then you got, you know, the dragon moose. Let's see what else we got here. The goat gorilla. And my personal favorite, the turtle ducks. You know, it's a great world. You know what? Now that I think back at it, Toph isn't my favorite character. It's Appa. And that's Aang's sky bison. He carries the team on his back the entirety of the show. He never complains. He does what he needs to. He is a badass bison, and he carries the team. If Aang did not have Appa, they would have gotten captured way back in season 1. And it would have been over. You can see this in the episode where Appa gets stolen. They have to walk through this desert alone. They're not sure where they're going, and they have to navigate the world and the city of Ba Sing Se without Appa.
Can't you watch where you're...
No.
Right. Sorry.
And by the way, he's only stolen because, you know, of course, blame the blind girl, but it's true because they are trying to find ways to defeat the Fire Nation, so they find a library that's in the desert. And of course, you know, what's Toph gonna do at a library? She can't see. She can't read.
I say you guys go ahead without me.
You've got something against libraries?
I've held books before, and I gotta tell you, they don't exactly do it for me.
Oh, right. Sorry.
So she hangs back to keep an eye out on things. And, okay, I should explain on how Toph actually can see. So Toph sees by earthbending the earth around her and sensing the seismic waves that others make when they move. This gives her almost superhuman abilities to see and sense where people are and what they're doing and what they're going to do next. But she also has her limitations. She can't see if something doesn't move or touch the ground. So in some aspects, she really can't help the group at all.
Toph, I guess you should just come with me.
Why? Because you think I can't put up posters on my own? It's upside down, isn't it?
And she never learned to see in sand before. So of course she's helpless to help Appa. And then here's another really cool part. Because she finds that flaw in her bending, she spends time during the rest of the series learning how to sand bend so that she never feels powerless again. Which, side note, the episode where he's lost and those few episodes between when they find him again are some of the saddest and most well-written episodes of the entire series and just in TV history. It's right up there with Uncle Iroh's backstory. I'm going to start tearing up again if I keep talking about it. So anyways, back to the saber-toothed moose lion that's about to attack Sokka. Aang finally stands up to the saber-toothed moose lion, and of course he uses airbending because he doesn't know earthbending or anything else yet. And then he goes right up to Toph and demands his staff back. And she's like, you know what? I respect it now. You know what? Here you go. And he finally learns to earthbend after that. Because he learns that he realizes that he is the Avatar. He is the only one that can do this. He has to grab life by the horns and just do it. And that's the philosophy of earthbending. Face your problems head on and just get her done. So like I said, I encourage you to find your opposite. Go take some of these quizzes, find out your element, and then work on your opposite. Because I guarantee you, it's lacking, and you need to work on it. I'm just going to say that everyone changes throughout the show. Every single character has their own arc that they have a beginning, a low point, and then redemption. Everyone has an arc. We've talked a little bit about Aang's, and that's good enough for me. I'm just going to talk about the most important thing that I took away from this show and really opened my eyes to the philosophy behind this show and Eastern philosophy as a whole. And that is the philosophy of the chakra system. Towards the end of season 2, Aang goes to the... can't remember which one it is, but he goes to one of the air temples and he meets Guru Patik. And Guru Patik walks Aang through opening all of his 7 chakras. And he learns the chakra system because it is the only way that he can truly master all of the elements and himself is by going through this path. And whether that's letting go of shame, guilt, fear, being truthful to himself, and get over the grief that he's held over the air nomads.
I've indeed felt a great loss. But love is a form of energy, and it swirls all around us. The air nomad's love for you has not left this world. It is still inside of your heart and is reborn in the form of new love.
And finally, that he sees that the whole world is one, which is very important for the Avatar. The Avatar must put the world's needs ahead of their own. They must keep the world in balance. They even say in the show that the 4 nations and the elements are all an illusion, and we are all one people.
The greatest illusion of this world is the illusion of separation. things you think are separate and different are actually one and the same.
Like the Four Nations.
Yes, we are all one people, but we live as if divided.
So I started to look into it, and I picked up this book, Eastern Body, Western Mind. And if you've watched any of my videos, actually just one video is where I talk about it, but I want to talk more about it because it's such a good book. I highly recommend you read it. And it talks about like the more therapeutic side of the chakra system. And again, do I believe that there's energy pools that you need to align or whatever? No. But they are good topics to go through if you are going to be the most complete version of yourself. Yeah. I honestly didn't even write an ending for this. I just kind of was going with the flow here. I love this show. I think it's a show that everyone should watch in their lifetime at least once. And I promise you, it will change your life like it did mine. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.